For those of you who weren't here on Monday, I'm Rick Barrows. I'm trained as a fish nutritionist. I've been formulating diets for more years than I want to count. Worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, then the Department of Agriculture, and in 2016 I retired from government research, and Barb recruited me at that point because I had just spent 20 years developing plant-based diets for a variety of species. And I told her I'd give her 2 years, and that was 8 years ago. So it's really fun working with this group. And if I can have first slide. So we got together when I first joined the group, and we're talking about what we can do to help move new ingredients into the feed manufacturers. We noticed that there's a real lack of communication between some startup feed ingredient companies and feed manufacturers, that the startups didn't know what kind of information the manufacturers needed, and a lot of time the manufacturers didn't know what new ingredients were around. And that's the birth of the Feed Innovation Network, FIN for short. A little trout has a nice fin at this age, but it doesn't last long. So anyway, the purpose of FIN is to speed innovation, to provide connections between various different segments of this space. And we have a lot of features on this website, which I had on the first slide, f3fin.org. And I'm just going to tell you about some of those resources that are available today. And if you look at the tabs across the top, there's 6 different tabs. We've got F3 suppliers on that first one. You click on that and you get a drop-down menu. And there's F3 suppliers, and you've got F3 companies that are supplying F3 fed fish, and I can't see that at all. The farms that are providing it, there's resources, but this is the feed ingredient suppliers, and you can see tabs across the top that they are by nutrients. We have a protein tab, and then we also have an oil tab. This slide shows the oil tab. The different types of oils are available, algal oil. You can click on the link to that company's website. There's contact information. Some cases we have nutrient analysis, so you can go through and really see what kind of products are available. And we are putting each of the contestants' products into this database. And then if we look at open feed formulas, there's a lot of people saying, well, where can we find a formula that doesn't have fish meal and fish oil? Through literature search, but also through the F3 research program, we've developed formulas for a variety of different species. You can see the tabs across the top. This is the Kampachi, but we also have largemouth bass and a variety of other species. I also noticed that we don't have a trout tab. Somebody was asking about that. The one that we know the most about, we don't even have on there, but hopefully we'll have that in the next week or two. And then evaluations, and this is where we can really help the startup ingredient suppliers, that if we look at ingredient evaluation, this slide shows the type of tests that answer the questions that feed manufacturers are asking. Of course, you need, and every box that has an orange circle on it has a protocol, suggested protocol of how you conduct that type of study. And we're not saying this is the only way you can do it, and I'll give you an example of digestibility. There's 100 ways to do it, but it's good if we can all get standardized so that we can compare apples to apples. Ingredient functionality and palatability and digestibility can all be conducted at the same time. And feed manufacturer wants to know about the functionality of an ingredient, because if it's very hygroscopic, it's going to increase the amount of electricity it takes to make a ton of feed. That can be a problem. If it's too oily, it's going to cut down on the shear and you don't get its good cook. So that's important. Is that new ingredient going to affect feed intake in either a positive way or a negative way? And then digestibility, as I mentioned, it might be a 60% protein product, but if it's only 50% digestibility, you're only getting 30% digestible protein. And to determine digestibility, you have to collect feces. And it's very easy to collect feces from poultry, but in fish, there's a lot of different ways. You can take it out of the water, you can hand strip it, you can use mechanical separation, but each of those gives you a different number. So you need to be aware of that when you're looking at digestibility. How was that collected? And this is a list of the small batch feed production, because that's another problem with startups, is that you don't have a lot of material. Commercial mills want to do a 3-ton or a 5-ton minimum run. That's a lot of ingredient if you're putting it in at 20%. But each of these mills, and it's across the U.S., and we also have some in Thailand, Vietnam, and Myanmar. And then F3 research, Ewan is going to talk about this later. During the pandemic, we contracted and did a lot of research for demonstration type studies showing that we can feed F3 diets to a variety of different species, whether they're carnivores or omnivores. And then the resource sections, we've got presentations, definitions, forage fish savings estimator, and you can go to those individually, or we have them grouped by different users type. And the last thing I want to talk about is the AquaFeed ingredient research engine. And this is a really cool software thing that I don't really fully understand yet, but the concept is to take databases, like a digestibility database developed by the USDA, but integrate that with all the ingredients and also have research results and have links to where you can go and pull up the papers. You could search for algae and then click on that and download into different aspects. Say palatability will be a separate section, digestibility will be a separate section. So that's pretty exciting. But when going through these slides this morning, I noticed that I forgot one of the most important resources F3 has. Is I'm not sure how many total years of experience we have in the F3 group here, because a lot of us aren't counting anymore. But if with that experience and with all these F3 meetings, we have a lot of connections. So if any of you have questions, anything we can help you with, if we don't know the answer, we can go find it. So please let us know, and we're here to help. That's what we do. Thank you.